am Mukesh Kumar Pasna, working as assistant professor in the Department of English at Agricultural College of Engineering. Today my topic for discussions or for this session is communication skills. As you know, it is common to all branches of the engineering, right? So, and it is basic things for all the students who are just involved in any branch of the engineering, right? So, what is called communication skills, right? The very basic question is that what is communication skills? It is just a soft skills, that is the conveying effectively the informations, the fact and informations and understanding to each other feelings. That is the communication skills, right? After going through these sessions, you will be able to identify the key components of the very verbals and the non-verbals communications as well as written communications, and you will be able to demonstrate the clear and confident communication in the classroom discussions and good activities, right? And it is very essential for the engineering students, right? And you will be able to interpret the basic technical informations and express accurately in the writings, right? Sometimes it happens that if you are not able to very understand the very class teachings, you can say the materials, you are not able to just interpret. Sometimes it happens with the student when some teachers are teaching in the classrooms, they just only focus on the very expression, the facial expression of the teachers. They are not able to listen it. Later on, I will explain the very listening very activity in the classrooms. So, after going through these various sessions, you are also able to construct short presentations and the simple technical reports on the familiar topics. So, these are the very learning outcomes of these sessions, right? So, communication skills, the very pictures you can say that's unlock your doors to open learnings, to open discussions in any academic communities or any social communities. Yes. So if you are just very masters on the communication skills, you can just excel in your personal as well as the academic fields, right? And it can also build a trust and influence and connect different thoughts, that is for the effective skills, right? Or this is a very active listening, the very important part of the very communication skills, right? What I have earlier said, the very listening comprehensions or even active listening. Sometimes what happens in the classrooms, the students are not able to focus on the content that delivered by the teachers. Sometimes it happens, some of the students just focus on the very facial expression, the exposure etiquette of the teachers. Meanwhile, they just lose the very sight of the very content delivered by the teachers. Right? There is a very graph of the very active, as it is considered the key to understanding the fact, right? There are 7 key active listening skills. The first is be attentive, right? While you in the very communications setup, you must have to be attentive and ask open-ended questions. You must have to interact with the teachers, right? And the third is ask probing questions. And fourth is request for the clarifications by the teachers or as well as the student. And next is paraphrase, and next be attuned and reflect feelings, as is reflected in the definitions of the communication. There should be a reflections and the very mutuals or you can say the exchange of the emotions, ideas and the informations, right? And last, the sum to summarize. Now we focus on the non-verbal communications, right? Everything that happen in the universe to the mode of communications, either with the non-verbals or a verbal ways. If you are not able to do anything, so you are not just going to express verbally, you just give the very verbal non-verbal expressions. Yes, non-verbal communications, it is just exhibited by the body postures, the facial expressions and the voice tone, physical appearance and eye contact, right? So communications that is in the form of other than written or spoken words, that is considered as a non-verbal communications. So the very title is non-verbal communication that action speak louder, right? clear and concise messaging, so getting your point across. These are the very characteristic of the very communications. You have the 7 C's, the very 2 C's as I have reflected, the very clear, concise, and there is also the coherence, completeness in your message. Right? So this should be your very communications best should be on a very simple language. Try to use very words that everyone can understand. Right? And you should be very brief. Communicate key points quickly and effectively. Right? And the very third is focus on the purpose. You should not just talk in a roundabout way. Right? You try to just focus on the content. Right? Just you need very constructive feedback. That means the feedback of the communication that is very you are just able to build a very constant, very strong relationship. Right? How can you just make a very strong relationship? You should be very specific. Right? The focus on the behaviors, not on the personalities. What I have said was just going to very listening capacities, listening comprehensions. Right? Use positive terms so that you can encourage growth with respect and kindness, and just you offer the very solutions. Right? Suggest actionable steps to improve your performance. This is the very summary, or you can say the takeaways. That's after going through this, we have come across the very clarity and conciseness to the very communications. You just become a very use way of speaking, written some things that you maintain the clarity and conciseness, right? And you will also just learn about how to listen the very things actively, right? And the very third is very non-verbal cues like body language, tone of voice and facial expressions, etc. And adaptability. Just you try to accommodate to the student how to communicate in a very environment. Whether you just feel a very academic environment or a very social environment. Because after graduating from the engineering, they just engage in very social atmospheres. They just face different atmospheres other than the very academic fields, right? So here are the questions. It is open for all of you. The very first question: how can active listening improve communication in team-based engineering projects? This is the very questions, and it is just a number of questions. Like, what are some key strategies for ensuring clarity and conciseness in technical writings? Right? And how do non-verbal cues impact the effectiveness of an oral presentations? And fourth, in what ways can you adapt your communication style when addressing both technical and non-technical audiences? Okay. These are the big questions. Thank you.